Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 22 of my Android Development for Beginners tutorial. Today I'm going to do something that I've been asked for numerous different times. I'm going to show you how to communicate with a database using PHP and App Inventor, all in one tutorial. I'm going to cover every single thing, so we might as well go take a look at what the finished app's going to look like. And here is the finished application. What we're going to do here is allow people to enter all sorts of customer information and then store it under an ID number. So it's basically going to send all this information to a PHP script that's then going to put it in a database. And not only are you going to be able to submit information, you're also going to be able to get those customer lists from the database, and then on top of that you're going to be able to update that data. So pretty much everything that you could ever want to do using PHP and App Inventor and MySQL. So let's go take a look at how we're going to put this together. Okay, so you saw the finished app. It's simple, but it's meant to be simple so that you guys will be able to go out there and do anything you would like with it. Now, you don't need to be an expert in PHP to be able to use this tutorial. I'm going to explain everything to you, so you're going to be able to manipulate things just hopefully based off of how I explain things. Now I'm going to briefly show you right here how I set up a database. Now this is on GoDaddy. It'll be different for everybody, but it'll be very similar. And I'm going to use PHP MyAdmin. And inside of GoDaddy, if you want to start up or create a database, you're going to go into your account. And it's going to be very similar for everybody out there, like I said. And then we're going to click on web hosting. And whenever you do, this is going to open up. Then you're going to pick one of the sites where you want to store this information. And just so you know, all of the scripts have been removed from the account that I'm going to use in this tutorial. So you're going to have to save it on your own computer or on your own server someplace. Basically, you're just going to pick whatever you want and click on launch. And whenever you do, this is an old website that I used to mess around with. This is going to open up on your screen, and then you're going to come over here to where databases is. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. Then you're going to come up here and you're going to click on add, and then this is going to pop up. You're just going to type in a name, friendly name. It's just a way of describing your database. Then you're going to give it a database name. This is also going to be your username in this situation. And then you're going to type in your passwords. Like I said, you don't need GoDaddy. You can use any account, and every account's going to be very similar. After that, you're going to click on OK, and then your database is going to be set up. I'm going to use this one called AI Users 2 right there. And then after you have that all set up, you're going to open up PHP MyAdmin in whatever way is available to you. And then you're going to type in your username, which is going to be what we saw previously there, and your password, and click on Go. This is going to take you into PHP MyAdmin, and it should look very similar to you. And then basically what you're going to need to do here is come over on the side where your database is and click on that. And whenever you do, you're going to see a window pop up, and it's going to say create a new table on the database that you clicked on, and you're going to want to give it a name. In this situation, I'm going to call mine customer, and then you're going to have to decide how many data points you want inside of customer. In this situation, I used 8, and you can see them all right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, actually I used 9. So in that fields part you would type in 9. Then inside of here, just to keep this very simple, customer ID is going to be the only thing that's going to be an integer, and what you need to know about that is that it has to be marked unsigned right there under attributes, not null. Auto increment needs to be turned on, and this needs to be checked inside of here. It's called the primary key. And basically the way it's going to operate, if you're not aware of how databases work, is each time you add a new customer, you are going to auto increment that number, so everybody has a unique number. Then I'm going to type in first name, last name, street address, city, state, zip code, email, phone number. Feel free to hit pause. And then I basically just typed in the maximum length for each one of these fields, and I just used reasonable data here, even though 254 email letters is not normal. That is the international standard, at least as far as I'm aware. And you don't need to mark anything else for any of these other different tables. Then after you have that all entered, you're going to come down here and click on save, and whenever you do, it's going to show you the actual SQL that was entered, and it is going to create everything for you. Now if you would come up here and click on structure, it's going to show everything here for you. Now let's say you decide you wanted to add another field inside of here. All you would do is come down here where it says add and then put one field, and field is just another data point. and then come over here and then click on Go, and then you would enter in any additional fields you would want. I wanted to give every person that was entering the data into this database a unique ID so that we would be able to sort who put the customer information in. It's just a variable number of characters, 35 in length, not null, blah, 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 blah. Click on Save. And that is everything in regards to setting up the database. Now I'm going to jump in and create all the PHP scripts and explain how they work. Okay, so here I am in just a generic text editor. If you are on a Mac, you could use Text Wrangler if you want to, or if you're on a PC, you could use Notepad++, and if you're on Linux, you probably have your chosen thing. Now basically what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 files. One's called Submit Customers. This is going to handle submitting new customers into our database. Customer CSV is going to return a comma-separated value list of all the customer data, and then we're going to use it. Update customer is going to update the customers. So the very first one I'm going to cover here is submit customer. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to explain everything, and if it doesn't make sense, feel free to leave a comment below. Now for the submit customer, basically the way you use PHP, don't get worried if you have never seen PHP before, this is going to be simple. So you're just going to start off by putting this bracket right there, and then you're going to put a question mark in and PHP. Now what I'm going to do is I need to define all of my user information, my password, the host, and my database name. So what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to call this DB user, and I really tried to dumb this down. It's not the most secure thing on the face of the earth by any means, but I wanted to make it understandable, and it's very, very important that if you want to use this in anything that has to be secure, that you are going to want to check and verify all the data. I do it to a certain extent, but I don't do it totally. So this is the username that we just previously entered. You saw that with the database whenever the database was created. Now we're going to come in here and we're also going to need to define our password. So database password, and then you're going to put your password inside of here like that. Save myself some time. I'm going to come in here and just copy and paste 2 more of these. Then you're going to come in and put database, and this is going to be host. And you're going to have to get the host information from wherever this is being stored online. So in GoDaddy, I'm going to come back here, click on databases, and then I can click on actions if I want to see it, and click on details. And you can see the host name is down here. So this is where I'm going to get that from. Depending upon who you use, you might have to use something different. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, DB host, and then right inside of there, I'm going to paste that in. And then this here is going to be database name. And here, this is going to be AI, for me anyway. It's going to be different for you. And there we go. Now what I need to do is connect to the database. So I'm just going to come in here and just do database connection, whatever, zoom in a little bit, is equal to, and you can just copy and paste this code. Like I said, there's a link to it underneath the video. And there we are. And that's how I'm going to connect to it. And then I just have to go DB host. This is the information we just typed in, and DB user and DB password. And there we go. Now I'm going to verify that we were able to get a connection by just coming in here and going DB connection, and it's going to come back true or false, and just close these brackets like that. And then if it did not work for us, what we're going to do is just say die database connection failed, just to keep it simple. And I said before we're going to want to scrub this data, and that's basically, I don't know, you can leave a comment below if you want to find out how to do that. I'll post a link to a tutorial on how to scrub this data. Okay, so this is going to print out an error if the whole entire thing fails. And then let's just say exit, and there we go. We're out of it. And we're going to use this same exact code in all 3 of these different things. Then we need to select the database that we want to use, is equal to MySQLi select database. And then you're going to pass in database connection and then the database name that you want to use. And that was defined up right here. See, database name, database user, or database name, I mean. And then we're going to verify that that worked. Database selected, that bracket inside of there. And then if it didn't, we're going to call for the whole entire script to die again. Database, let's just say selection failed, and then the error that we have here, and then exit. Okay, so that is how we are going to connect to the database. Like I said, feel free to copy and paste rather than typing this in. Then what we're going to need, because this guy's job is to submit customers, okay? So we need to submit the first name, last name, street address, all that stuff. Well, to do that, we're going to pass a URL filled with all of this information. First name, is equal to. And to do that, we're just going to come in here and we're going to go real escape string, and then we have to give the database connection, and then we're going to be passing this information using the get way of passing data inside of a URL, and this is going to be first name right here, and there we go. And then we're going to do that for every single field that we are planning to submit to our database. So that's going to be 8 different things here. And then we just need to change this right here. This is going to be last name. And then we're going to change this to last name. Come back over here. And this is going to be street. And then come over here. And this is going to be street. City, city. State, state, or province, whatever you want to call it. Zip and zip. So it's exactly the same information that's in our database, what we're using here. Email. Well, let's just go and do this all in a row. Phone, and then the recorder, which is going to be a special designation that's going to say who entered this customer information. Over here, type in email, phone, and then this one is going to be recorder as well. Okay, so we have those all set up. That is how we're going to get the information that's passed from App Inventor, and then we're going to store it in our database. Now what we need to do is create what is called a query. That is how you put information in a database, and we're just going to go insert into the table named customer, and then we have to put in what we want to be inserted. So I'm going to say first name, last name, street, address. These are the names of these locations in the database. City, state, which went over here, there's state, zip code, email, phone number, and the recorder ID. Just closing bracket here, and then we're going to say values. And then we're going to get this information that was created up here, all this, first name, last name, street, city, blah, 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 all that. And then we're going to put that inside of here. Make sure you put it in quotes, and I'm going to say first name. Make sure you have closing quotes. Make sure you have the $ as well. Last name, which is now over here. Street, city, state, zip, email, phone, and then finally recorder. And make sure you spell it right. After you do that, closing bracket, and then we're going to put double quote and close that off. And we're almost done with this first one, and the rest of them are going to go pretty easy because there's going to be a lot of copying and pasting. Then after we create this query, we have to actually execute it. So I'm going to go result is equal to MySQL I query DBC and pass in the query that you want to be issued. And then we're going to say or trigger error, and let's say something like query MySQL error. There you go. Bracket there, do this, and then we can go MySQLi underscore error, which is over here, and then pass in the database connection again, close that off, and there you go. And then after we're done with that, we're going to go MySQLi, close, and pass the database connection, and we're done. This couple lines of code is going to allow you to submit information from App Inventor into your database. This is all you need right there. Now what we're going to do is get the customer data in a customer comma separated value list, and we're going to use PHP again for that. And what's cool about this is I'm going to be able to come in here and copy a lot of this stuff. Copy that, jump over here, paste it inside of there. Just to make sure you don't forget later on, put the little question mark and close this off. Zoom out of that. And then we just add a couple lines inside of here just to make sure that we can get all this data. Alright, so we logged in, we did all this. We have to do this again to connect to the database, and then once we do that, of course, and you're going to have to enter your own password inside of there, and all your other information is going to be different. And then we're going to go result is equal to MySQLi query, pass in your database connection, and then you need to pass in a query, and I'm going to say show columns from customer, like that, and then close that off. And then what this is going to do is it's going to give me the number of rows of data that I have in my database is equal to MySQLi num rows. And you just pass in the result right like this, and then close that off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to verify that the number of rows is greater than 0, otherwise I'm not going to do anything. I don't have any customers to work with. Close that bracket off, and I'm going to go values is equal to MySQLi query, do another query for the database, pass in the database connection we want to use, and then issue another query. Here we're going to say select star, which stands for everything, from customer, which is the table we're working with, where, and then in this situation I want to just get customer information that applies to the ID Fred. Now, the whole idea behind this is that I want to only send back Fred's list of customers that he entered. That's going to be true for every single person that is taking in customer information. They're all going to be unique. And then an administrator would basically not have this on there. They'd be able to receive all the customer information. So if you're an administrator, all you need to do is create another thing called customer CSV. Like, you could call this customer CSV Fred. That would make sense. And then you would create another one called customer CSV admin, and the customer CSV admin wouldn't have the where part on it. So in that situation, they'd get every customer. And then closing quotes, and there we go. All right, so that is our query that we're going to use to get the customer information that we need. Come down inside of here, and then what I'm going to do is cycle through all these and put them into a comma-separated valued list. So I'm going to go WR is equal to my SQLi, and I want to say I want to fetch a row of customer data, and I just need to pass it the values. Like that. It's going to keep cycling through there until or while there continues to be additional data to get. And then inside of this, I'm going to say for, I'm going to put a j is equal to 0. And then I'm going to say j, we're going to keep incrementing the value of j to get each piece of data from the customer information as long as I have rows of data to get. And then at the end, we just increment j. So it said I want the piece of data in section 0, and I want the piece of data in section 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So hopefully that makes sense. Doing my best to make this tutorial understandable for people that don't even know PHP. That's the goal. I don't know if I'll succeed or not. And then I'm just going to go CSV output. This is what's going to be sent back. Remember, this information is going to be sent back to App Inventor so that we'll get all the customer data. I'm going to go row, and then I'm going to go j, put the j inside of that, and this row is basically just going to be like a box that is going to contain all the customer data, and each box for each piece of data is going to increment. So it'll be box 0 will contain the name, and box 1 will contain the last name, and then the street, and da-da-da-da. And then we just increment that right there, and that's what this guy right here does. And then we're going to separate this with commas. And there we go. And then to divide up each of the individual customers, we're then going to also add on to this. This is the customer data that's going to be passed back, separated with commas. And then to separate each individual customer, we have to have a new line. And this is what this symbol right here represents, new line. And then we will close off these two brackets, and then we will call print. And this will be the data that is printed out. And then after that, we go exit. And then after that, we come down here and we make sure we don't have any extra space in there for no reason. And then that's done. So we got that one done too. And now all we need to do is create a script that's going to allow us to update the customer data. And we're going to need all of this stuff. And actually, we are going to copy. Actually, let's go into the submit customer. This is going to save us a lot of time. We're going to copy this, and we're also going to copy all of this. We just have to make a couple little changes. Paste all that in there. So again, we're going to connect to the database, and we're going to enter all that information. And the thing we're going to do down here that's going to be a little bit different, this is where we're going to update or change a customer in the database. What we're going to do is have this be first name, and we're basically going to delete the recorder. That's not going to be important information, but one thing that is going to be important is we want to make sure we update the right customer ID. So to do that, we are going to also be receiving the customer ID, and over inside of here, we're going to type in customer ID. That's going to be the new piece of information that's sent over, and everything else can stay exactly the same. And then we're going to have to issue a new query for the database. Come in here. We're going to say it's equal to. If you want to update information in the database, you just type in update and the table you want to update, and then set, and then each piece of the database, first name, is going to be equal to the data that was passed over. Put a quote right there, and then we're going to type in first name, right like that. And then we're going to type in last name is equal to, and in this situation, that's going to be last name. And then we're going to type in street address, which I believe is over here now, which is again the name in the database. So we'll make sure that's clear. And then to save you from having to watch me type all that out, you're going to enter in your city, you're going to enter the state, the zip code, you're going to enter in the email, the phone number, and then you're going to type in where customer ID is the customer ID that you want to change, okay? Which is passed in right here, all right? Then let's go and copy a result, this guy right here, bounce back over here, paste that in there, except in this situation we're going to enter in query instead of this. And might as well just go and do some more copying and pasting. Or trigger error, blah, 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 copy, or trigger error, query MySQL error, this guy right here, and then MySQLi error, same exact thing that we just had. And the only thing is we don't want to have 2 semicolons there at the end. And then to finish it off, we're going to go MySQLi, close, DBC, and then at the end of it, we're going to go like this and like this. And we're done. We just did all the PHP scripts we're going to need for the entire App Inventor app. So now let's jump over into App Inventor. Of course, you'd have to upload all of these to your server. And then after you do that, you're going to be able to jump into App Inventor and start making this. So here we are inside of App Inventor, and you can just see I have a horizontal layout. I have a first name label, say right here. You can make this cleaner and nicer. And then I went in and put in little text boxes. This is called first name text box. Again, I'm going to put all of this information in a link under the video. So you can see first name text box. This is very, very, very simple. And I did that for each one of these. Just simple label text box. And then I have a bunch of buttons. So I have a submit customer button, a get customer button, and update customer button. Then I have a list picker. That's going to pop up and show a list of all the customers' names. Then I have a web tool that's going to allow me to communicate with our PHP script, and then a notifier. And that is it. That is all we need. You can see right there, web1 notifier, blah, blah, blah. Very simple. So let's jump over into the block section and make it all work. All right, so what sort of things are we going to need here? Just going to walk through my thinking process as I go. I'm going to need, obviously, a list of customers. So let's go and create that. So customer list. And since it's going to be a list, I'm going to need it to be empty to start off. So let's just create an empty list. There it is. We're all done with that. What else are we going to need? Well, we're going to continuously have to communicate with the PHP script using a URL. We're going to probably need 2 URLs. One is going to be a temporary one, and the other one is going to be a main one, obviously. And let's just come in here, put nothing inside of that, and I'm going to name this the URL. I could probably come up with a better name if I thought for a little bit. Duplicate this, and then this one is going to be called temp URL. You'll see in a second what I'm going to do with those. Then I need to handle how to submit customer information. Now they're going to enter it in those text boxes, and then I'm going to send it using all our little wonderful tools we have here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is set up how to submit that customer data. So come over here, click on submit customer, get a click, drag this right here, drop it. And then what are we going to do? Well, in the temp URL, we're going to start creating everything here. Reason why we have temps and we have the main URL is I'm going to have to replace every space in the URL with a % followed by 20, which represents spaces, because you can't have spaces in a URL if you didn't know that. And if you don't use the web all the time, you probably wouldn't know that. So let's go and get this. We're going to have to create a massive join here that's going to store all that information. Now, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to point towards my website where the PHP program that you just saw is located. So it's going to be new Justin like this. And I just want to reiterate that I am going to delete all this stuff as soon as I'm done using it. So you'll have to do that on your own, but you can still basically just copy and paste. So this is what we have to do. Submit customer PHP, this guy right here. That's what we're going to be calling. Drag it, drop it right there. And then that is going to be followed with the first name. Well, actually, I have to put in a little bit more inside of here. Come back down inside of here. I'm going to go first name is equal to. And that is where we're going to pass in our first name information. And we're going to get that first name information from our text box. So come in here and we'll get the text out of the text box, which is right here, and drop it right there. And there you can see everything. We need a ton more joins. We're going to need 16 of them since we have 8 data points inside of here. So that's 1, 14, 15, 16, or at least I think that's right. All right, so those are every one of the things that we need. Then what we're going to need to do is come in here and separate all of the pieces of data with an and sign, followed by whatever I want to pass in next. Well, first name makes sense, then last name is equal to, And there that is. And then I'm just going to duplicate these. Duplicate. And then I'm going to need to come in here and type in street, city, state, zip, email, phone, recorder. And there we go. And now I'm going to duplicate some more things. Duplicate this so we can quickly fill these in. And then just change them to what they're supposed to be. So last name, street, city, state, zip, email, phone, and then recorder finally. Okay, got that all set. Now what we need to do is go and get the real URL, which is going to have those values inside of them that I told you about before. And to replace them, we're just going to have to go over here into text, and we're going to look for replace all. Place all, this guy way down here. We'll grab that. Whoops. Click it again. Place all text. Drag it over here, drop it right there, put that back. For some reason this jumped over here. It's App Inventor just being crazy. Okay, and we're going to get the temporary, which has the current URL information inside of it. And then we're going to say that we want to replace all spaces. So grab this guy right here, drag it, put it right there. We're going to say that we want to make all spaces. Make sure you come in here after that and put a space inside of there, like that. And we're going to replace it with %20, which in the URL world represents a blank space. Then after we do that, we go over into the web part, this guy right here, and we have defined our URL, or we need to define our URL. Hit this guy right here, drop it right there. We're going to have to get the main URL, this guy, grab it, drag it down here, take it, drop it right there. You can see it like that. And then we're going to click on web again and call get. And that is going to allow us to submit data. That's all we have to do right there. And now we can submit our customer data. Now, whenever we submit new customer data, chances are we are going to want to update our list picker. So I'm going to create a procedure. Over there, click on this, and I'm going to call it update list picker. That's going to allow the user to go in there and select the people they want to use or the customers they want to work with. And to get it, guess what? I'm going to have to call my PHP script. So I'm going to go down here and go into the web part and define the URL that I want to work with. Set the URL. And in this situation, I'm going to be calling http:/newjustin.com/customer csv.php. That nice guy we created, and that's going to return that list for me. And then I'm going to call get on that, and there we go, update list picker, Now whenever they click on the get customer button, this guy over here, get customer button, click. And if you've watched this video so far, I'd really be happy if you'd leave a comment that you actually watched it, because I think I'm like the only guy who makes long videos on the internet, but I just think that for certain people it works better, so that's what I do. I'm not going to tell you to like, favorite, tell all your friends about this. I just want to know if you actually watched the video. Alright, and then we're going to come over to variables, and I'm going to create an empty list that's going to contain all the customers for my list picker. So I get this guy, customer for list picker, create an empty list. Alright, then after we get all of the information, which is going to be the comma separated value, table or whatever file that we called for with this guy right here, we're going to need to catch it. So let's go in here again and go to web, and this is what's going to be automatically called anytime new information comes through, and this has got text in this situation. Now we're going to go to our customer list, which is up here. Actually, I'm going to drag it down here so that I can get a hold of it if I need it. There we go. And I'm going to say that I want to set my customer list, this guy, drag it over here, drop it right there. And then I want to come into the list area and convert my CSV into an actual list that I can store inside of here. And to do that, scroll way down. List from CSV table is the one that we want. There it is. And then response content is what we want to get. Then we're going to go customers for our list, get this guy, and let's create or let's delete every single time any information that might already be in that list. Then we're going to have to cycle through all of the content that was sent over and add it to our list picker. So go into control, and we're going to go for each, which is this thing right here. Drag it, drop it right there. And in this situation, it's going to be customer list, which is where all that information was being stored. And it's going to cycle through each one of these pieces of information and then store it in our list picker for us. One thing I want to do, however, is I'm going to be both updating as well as getting information from the list and a whole bunch of other different things. And as you're going to see a little bit later. And whenever I update, it doesn't send me back a full list of every single customers. So what I want to do here is I want to make a check. I'm going to check that I am getting at least 2 customers whenever I ask for this information. So I'm going to create a variable. It's going to be called length of lists, this guy right here, and it's simply going to be there to verify that I don't try to grab list information that doesn't exist. So length of list, and I'm going to start it off with a value of 0, which is going to be a no-go. Then in here and right here, I'm going to set it, and it's going to be the length of my list. So I'll come over here, get length of list, this guy right here, drop it right there for my item. So I want to verify that I actually have the list data in there before I try to grab it. And how I'm going to do that is with control, I'm going to throw an if block inside of here, there, like that. And then I have to verify that it's greater than 1. So grab this and length of list, get, and then I'm going to verify that it's greater than 1. And if it is, then I can add that item to my list. So come in here to lists again, add items to list, and the item I want to add is going to be customer data, and this is going to be customers for list picker. So there's that. And then I'm going to go over to text and do a join, and then I need to select the list items. I want the first name and the last name. First name is actually going to be the second thing in my list, and the last name is going to be the third thing. The first thing, of course, is the customer number. So go into list and then get select list item, and I specifically want the index. There's that, and I'm going to have to get this item up here, get, which is going to be each of the individual customers in the list. And then I specifically want the second one because that's where the first name resides. And I'm going to have to put a space in this join right here. Grab this string, throw that right there. I'm also going to grab the last name, throw that right there. Change this to 3. There we go. And put a space in between the first and the last name. This is all just for the list picker. So it's like just enough information to do just about everything, but hopefully not too much. And then what I want to do is open the list picker if this isn't an update. So if I just want to open the list picker only if the information was just updated inside the list picker. So to do that, I'm going to have to get another if, then, else. Drop that right there. And again, I'm going to verify that the length of the list was greater than 1. This is just first thing that comes to mind in how to do this. And if I have more than 1 list items, then that means that I'm going to be able to set my list picker. So let's come over here, list picker right there. And I'm going to set the elements, set list picker elements, 2, drop that right there. And then I'm going to get customers for list picker. That is all the data that I need. And then I'm going to call for my list picker to open and display all the customers. And there that is. Drag it and drop it right there. And there you go. That's going to add all the customers' first and last names to the list picker and then open the list picker. Now I have to handle what is going to happen after the item is picked in the list picker. Well, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the customer information, the first name, last name, street, city, and all that stuff, and put it in the proper fields inside of my App Inventor app. So click on this and say after picking, after they pick the customer that they want to work with, I'm going to drop this right here. Then I'm going to set the first name and all the other ones. Whoops, not that thing. This one right here. I'm going to set the text into this. Get the right customer information, drag that, drop that right there. See, that's the first name. And then select list item list. I need to, this is lists inside of lists. So what I'm going to have to do is get my whole entire customer list, pass it to the list picker index that was clicked on or the customer was clicked on, and then grab the first name, last name, and all those other different things. It's actually going to be quicker to do than you can imagine. So come in here, select this, drag it, drop it right there. And then I'm going to have, so this is going to be the actual list of customer data. And then this right here, duplicate this, is actually going to be the customer list that I'm going to be working with. So customer list, there that is. Get this, drop it right there. And if I want the item that was clicked on in the list picker, I need to go list picker and ask specifically for selection index, which we're then going to use to grab the right customer. And then right here, we're going to say we want the first name, and there that is. Now we can duplicate this a whole bunch of times because it's all the same, except in this situation, if I want the last name, I'm going to have to say that I want index number 3 because that's where the last name resides. Do the same thing for every other field. Okay, so last name, street, come in here, get the city, come in here, state, zip, come over here, change this to 4, change this to 5, whoops, 5, change this to 6, 7. This is actually going to be 9 in this situation. Let's come over here and get this zip code, phone number. This is going to be the email address, I believe. Yes, email address. This is going to be 8. This is just where the data resides. If you make an error, that's okay. I've made more errors than anybody can imagine. Duplicate, and here's the recorder, person that entered the information. And that's going to be 10. But then I'm also going to want to have whatever the current customer is that is selected. I'm going to want that later on whenever I want to find out what customer I want to update. So that means I'm going to have to come over here, create a variable. And this guy is going to be called current customer. That's going to be the customer that we are working with, or the customer data that's being displayed on the screen, or what have you. Current customer. And let's just give him a nothing value in the beginning. And like I said before, there is no customer 0. That it starts off with 1. So I'm going to use this to verify that I'm actually working with a real customer. Okay, move this down here. So in this situation, I'm going to be able to set this so that I can use it later on for the update. Duplicate, grab this, put that there. And then in this situation, this is going to be the first item, because the very first item in our list of customer data is actually the customer number. And there we go. And we're almost finished, which is amazing. We did a lot of stuff here, guys. Now we have to handle what happens if the customer wants to update the information. This is the last one. All we're pretty much going to have to do to make the update button work is copy a lot of what's in the submit part of the blocks in App Inventor. Let's just drag this up here just to make this a lot easier. Okay, well, the very first thing that we're going to have to do, we're going to copy all this stuff from the submit area. And the first thing we're going to need to do is verify that we do not have current customer set for 0. So that means we're going to have to get ourselves an if block. Drag it over here, drop it right there. And we're going to have to say, well, let's go grab that thing so we don't have to wait. There is current customer. Drag it up here. Okay, so we got current customer up here. And we just want to check that it's not equal to 0. So go to the math section, grab one of these guys, drop it right there. Current customer, we want to get its current value, and we want to say if it's not equal to 0, then we are going to be able to work with this. So drop it right there, and then it's time to do a lot of copying. We're going to take the temp URL, all of this stuff. We're just going to have to change a couple different things. Drag this over here, and we're going to have to come in here and change this to update customer right there. So delete this, update customer, and first name is perfectly fine on that. The only thing we're going to have to do is come down here. I'm going to zoom out again, and remember that we don't have the recorder because that doesn't matter, but we do need the customer ID. So we're just going to change this to customer ID, like that, and then we're going to say that we want to get the current customer. So let's just delete this, and let's get the current customer, which is up here. Let's duplicate this, drag it, and drop it right there. And there you go. That's the only thing we changed right there. And scroll down here. We're going to need to replace the spaces once again. So that's just going to be another copy. This guy over here. And actually, we're going to copy a lot of this stuff. So let's just duplicate this, drop it right there. And then we're also going to set the URL. So let's duplicate this, drag that over there. And then we're also going to tell it to go get the information. And there we are. So all that stuff is a copy once again. And then the only other thing we're going to do here is we're going to, if there was a situation where the current customer was 0, we're going to notify the person that that was true. Whoa, that took off down here. And there it is. So let's get an else block and drag it and drop it right there. Okay. And then we're going to have to come over here to the notifier. And let's say that we want to do a show message dialog to tell them that we have bad customer data for some reason. And I'm just going to keep this very simple. I'm just going to say bad customer data and put that as my message. And we could put something else, error, and then OK. And there we are. And there you are, guys. I covered every single piece of information you would need to know to be able to work with PHP scripts and databases using App Inventor. I hope somebody stuck along and watched the whole entire thing. Please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.